Do you need equipment for your business but don't have the cash? I can help. I'm Dylan Cohen at JR Capital, and we offer no money down financing on new and used equipment. Excavators, forklifts, dozers, tractors, cranes, plows, and more. If it's essential to your business, I will help you get the money you need. It's faster and easier than asking your banker. Call me, Dylan Cohen, at 602-834-7353. That's 602-834-7353. Or visit moneyradio.com and click on Finance with Dylan.
The views expressed on the following program do not necessarily reflect the views of Money Radio staff, management, or advertisers, and do not represent an offer to buy or sell any securities. Some interviews heard on this program may be sponsored by the participants.
I'm just doing what comes naturally. How bad can I be?
Bad can I possibly be? Welcome to Your Health is Wealth, giving you the keys to unlocking better health naturally. Today, you'll learn about how to bank wisdom for a fuller, richer life. Your hosts are Dr. Stephen Katz, an award-winning naturopathic doctor and former president of the Arizona Naturopathic Medical Association. Also, Dr. Lorena Ryder, naturopathic doctor and current board member of the Arizona Naturopathic Medical Association.
Good afternoon and welcome to Your Health is Wealth here on Money Radio, 1510 AM, 105.3 FM. I'm your host, Dr. Stephen Katz, alongside my co-host, Dr. Lorena Ryder. We're here each and every week to help navigate your journey to wellness. But we like to do it simply without all of that horrible medical terminology that everybody hates. We are here to provide practical solutions to your health issues that allows your body's healing systems to do the work for you. It's simple, it's natural, and it works. If you're still struggling with your health, you can come see us at Naturopathic Physicians Group to help get your life back.
Dr. Ryder here. You can text us live on the show if you would like to ask us any questions. Text number is 803-998-1510. Today's topic of the day is stress management. Now, April is Stress Awareness Month, and I know stress is a word that just seems to hold stress, even just saying it. But what we're going to talk about today is what is stress and why is it so harmful to us?
You know, I've seen a t-shirt once that says, "My anxiety has anxiety." It's pretty true.
Yeah.
Like people get anxious of their anxiety or the pending aspect makes them nervous.
Mm-hmm.
So why is it so harmful for us?
Well, there's two different types of stress. There's good stress and there's bad stress. And good stress, we want to have that, right? It's short term, it motivates you and it inspires you. So these are things like thrill rides at
That's bad stress.
like roller coasters.
That's bad stress.
You don't like that?
Oh God, no.
No, I love that.
I'd rather swim with great white sharks than go on a kiddie coaster.
I'll go on a coaster any day before I swim with sharks.
Great white shark diving.
No thanks.
That's good stress.
First dates are stressful. Work presentations are stressful. Competing in a race or a game, any competitive event. That's good stress, though.
That's that put up or shut up mentality. It's like you get out there and you go, and a lot of people will say they have stress leading up to it, but once they get on the field or once they start singing, whatever they're doing, then they rise to the occasion and then they do great, but they get themselves so worked up when they're before the actual action happens.
Yeah, and the good stress, remember, that's short term. It's not something that you're living with for a long time. Let's talk about the bad stress. This is stress that leaves you exhausted, worn out, possibly jittery. This bad stress can lead to weight gain, memory loss, irritability, poor concentration. I mean, the list goes on and on, but this is that long-term stress that it's like when it's a long work environment that's just toxic.
I remember as a kid, I liked the movie Anastasia, and I particularly liked the bat, the evil bat that worked with the villain in the movie. Yeah, Bartok.
Uh-huh.
And he'd always be like, yeah, stress, it's a killer. And that's what he'd say, it just like that. And I'd be like, yeah, but I was like 7 and I'm like, I don't know what that means. Now I do.
Yeah.
So he was very wise for a bat.
Right.
But basically, any kind of physical injury, car accidents, getting beat up for saying the wrong thing to the wrong person. This is not personal experience, but basically any kind of relationship problems, losing your job, grief when you lose a family member or a friend. I mean, any type of thing like that will lead to bad stress, and how your body handles it is the determining factor on whether or not it becomes a chronic problem and starts creating issues.
Yeah, this bad stress that we're talking about here, this can lead to mental health disorders such as anxiety. It can lead to decreased performance, poor concentration, confusion. It can lead to other things down the road.
Yeah. I mean, so what are the, physical symptoms you're going to feel if you're like in a really bad time in your life or really stressed out environment? One of the most common things people bring out is anger. It's blaming is another thing. It's like it's your fault why I'm in this problem, and they're not really even processing at this point. They're looking for a reason why it happened or an excuse. Sometimes it is that person's fault. Sometimes it's your own fault, but it's never your fault. So then you blame someone else. You're always looking for that out. But being impatient, irritable, angry, you feel overwhelmed. Like even little things like leaving your house become more difficult in the process. And we've all done this before where we're like, man, I don't even want to get out of bed. I don't even want to brush my teeth. I don't want to do anything right now just because I'm stressed out. And I know once I get through this stuff, I then have to enter that stressful environment, which is never good.
Right. And there's reasons why this is happening, and we'll go into that later. But if you have racing thoughts that you just can't turn them off, they're snowballing. That's a sign of stress.
Especially at night when you sleep.
Mm-hmm.
These are the people that can't fall asleep, or when they wake up, they're completely wired, even if it's like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and they're like, I'm up for the day because once I wake up, I mean, my body will not allow me to go. They wake up with these racing thoughts or sometimes even panic attacks.
Yeah, thinking about their to-do list for the day, or the person that cut them off in traffic earlier, or what they have to do tomorrow.
Work. Yeah. Work
yeah.
is a big one.
Yeah.
They don't allow themselves to escape from work.
Mm-hmm.
I drive a lot to get to work. I know you do as well.
Mm-hmm.
We both commute a pretty decent amount of miles, but I always use that as my way to adjust. When I get up in the morning, I'm driving to work. It's kind of my wake up time to get ready for work. And then after work, I drive home, and it's kind of my way to separate work from home so I don't bring my work home. And it does wonders when it comes to separating the stress from work from home.
Yeah, we have plenty of time to do that. Honestly, I can't even imagine like a 10-minute commute. It just wouldn't be enough time to do that.
I don't think I'd enjoy it.
Right.
I honestly, I like having the drive because it separates the work from home. And it is one of those things that people that don't like driving don't really understand. But to me, it really does. I'm done with work. I'll put on a podcast. I'll listen to myself sometimes and realize all of the fun things I say on the radio. I laugh my way home.
Yeah, that's good. Also, if you're just feeling depressed, like unable to enjoy yourself, that's a sign of being stressed out. If you're just uninterested in life, if you have lost your sense of humor, now that's considering you had one prior to being stressed out.
If you're just boring, you're boring. But ultimately, yeah, if you're not laughing anymore, there's a problem. The world is funny, and you have to embrace it. Now, some of it is scary, but sometimes it's so scary it makes you laugh anyway, because you're just like, oh my God, what kind of hell are we living in?
Yeah, I know. And you have to make fun of it sometimes.
Yeah.
If you have that sense of dread, which I think that was probably pretty common back during 2020, 2021.
What happened then?
But if you have it now, it could be because you're stressed out, worried or tense all the time. I mean, that's an indication.
Neglected, being lonely. There's people that are home, their whole family's home, and they still feel lonely. It's like, because they feel like they haven't had that connection, or they're having trouble in their marriage, or their children are not listening. There's so many reasons for it, but people will be home with their family and still feel alone. It's sad. It's scary. But that's also another sign, stress is overtaking the joys of life. And of course, if you have existing mental health problems, if you're watching the news every day, they should call that a mental health problem.
Yeah,
it's like
that's
it's just the
creating
fact of
stress.
listening to news all day long, or listening to something that upsets you every day. If you're pushing yourself through that aspect, it's not good. I mean, it's partly why when we do this show, we try to make it more fun. Like, there's a lot of medical podcasts out there, and I've listened to a lot of them, and most of them suck. It doesn't mean that they're bad information. The information's fine, but it's boring. It's dull. It's that white coat idea. I mean, my idea with this show, and when we talked about it, said if we bore ourselves, it's a bad show. We want to make it more entertaining, but we also want to make sure you do get still good information in the process. And that's kind of how we've been doing for the last 2 years.
Hey, if we get backlash right now, it's your fault, not mine.
Backlash saying that medical shows are boring.
Yeah.
They are boring. If they listen to it themselves, they'd tell you the same.
Yeah, I hope
We're
so.
not boring.
Right. We're not.
No.
We still have our sense of humor. Apparently, we're not super stressed out.
We laugh.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning into Your Health is Wealth. We're the doctors from Naturopathic Physicians Group located in Scottsdale, Arizona. And after this quick break, we'll return and be talking more about stress management.
So what did the doctor say?
He said I might need surgery.
Wow, it's that serious.
Well, we won't know for sure until I talk with a surgeon, but I'm lost. This is all new to me.
The decision to have surgery isn't easy, but neither is living with pain.
There is an alternative to surgery. At the Naturopathic Physicians Group in Scottsdale, our doctors are experts in full spectrum care using a natural approach and can restore pain-free joint function so you can avoid surgery. Patients come in for a variety of issues, including joint pain, chronic conditions, and issues specific to men's and women's health. We also help restore balance in immune, digestive, and hormone systems, which often improves both immediate physical symptoms and also improves cognition and emotional stability. So when traditional medicine suggests you need surgery, how about taking another approach? Call Naturopathic Physicians Group at 480-451-6161. That's 480-451-6161. Or go to naturopathicgroup.com.
Hey everybody, it's Mark Asher back to tell you about my great friends at the Lund Mortgage Team. Did you know that the Lund Mortgage Team was founded back in 1999? That's right, they're celebrating 25 years in existence this year. And you know what you have to do to stay in business that long? You have to be good at what you do. And the Lund Mortgage Team is not just good, they are great. They have helped thousands of people save thousands of dollars over those 25 years here in the Valley of the Sun. They only lend in Arizona, and they're mortgage brokers, which means they can shop your rate around. They're not tied to just one set of rates. Mortgage rates can get crazy. They can get high. They can get low. There's good times to strike, and there's times to stay on the sideline. Let the Lund Mortgage Team be your coach. Be your team leader when it comes to these huge decisions. Call 623-875-9940. That's 623-875-9940. Or you can always check them out at lundmortgage.com. Great website with all the tools you need. Call them today. They're my great friends, and you'll love them. It's the Lund Mortgage Team.
Welcome back to Your Health is Wealth. We're live today and every Friday at 1 p.m. We discuss a different topic about natural remedies for your health every week. And today's topic is stress management.
Every single week, I do a segment called What Isn't Your Doctor Telling You? This is not an anti-doctor segment, although in the last segment when I said most doctor podcasts are boring, I still stand by that. That being said, I do this segment every week to kind of give a tidbit that oftentimes you won't get answered in your very short meeting you have with your primary care physician. So I like to give a tidbit out there, and, you can take it with you and see if it's something that can help benefit your life. So for starters, since we're talking about stress management, we have to talk about neurotransmitters. And we can get into more detail later in the episode here. But neurotransmitters are your brain chemistry, your brain chemicals that control a lot of our processes. The most common ones people have heard about is serotonin and dopamine. But these neurotransmitters are the ones that help control our stress, our anxiety, our sleep, depression, energy, mood, focus, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So when we're talking about these things, when you see your psychiatrist out there and you come in with complaints of anxiety or depression or OCD or any of the above, oftentimes they're going to put you on a drug. And when they put you on a drug, they're basing that drug simply off of the symptoms you're telling them. Did you know? I was like that. You can actually measure your neurotransmitters before you are placed on a drug.
I knew that.
I know you knew that.
Most people do not.
But most people do not know that. So oftentimes, if you watch the commercials that they have out there for antidepressants or anxiety drugs, those commercials always tell you, well, one of the side effects of this antidepressant is it can make your depression worse. Well, that sounds backwards. How could I take an antidepressant and make my depression worse? Well, it is backwards when you're guessing on what your problem is. And when you see your psychiatrist, oftentimes they're guessing at, oh, based on your symptoms, this is the drug we're going to try. Now, I'm not telling you not to do your drugs, and I'm not telling you not to see your psychiatrist or your psychologist. I'm just telling you that this is something you should look into and test those neurotransmitters, because you can see if your problem is dopamine or if your problem is serotonin or norepinephrine or epinephrine or all of the above or none of the above. And when you test for that, then if you choose to do drugs or supplements or whatever you're doing, you can pick the correct medication or supplement to help balance out your neurotransmitters based on data and not just based on being blind and hope. Mm-hmm. So again, it's one of those things to bring up with your psychiatrist. And if they tell you no, you might want to look for someone who doesn't tell you no, because again, it's your body, it's your brain that they're tinkering with those drugs. And it's information that is really valid to try and not just get you better, but always, stay better.
I had a psychiatrist as a patient, and we discussed this, and she said, I don't understand why we don't have this tool to use in our profession. And I said, well, I don't either, but she was very excited about it. And she agreed that it would be a good idea to test the neurotransmitters before just throwing out any drug there, because then you know which one you need.
Yeah, I mean, I've had other psychiatrists tell their patients, oh, that doesn't work, even though they've never tried it. I mean, so having some data and then saying it doesn't work, but you've never tried it, or just guess. As a patient, I'd rather want to have some information rather than no information and then go blindly into the drug that they're telling me I might need to take for the next 30 years of my life.
Totally.
It's like, to me, it's a no-brainer to do the data first before you take something that alters your brain chemistry.
Mm-hmm. Right. Let's talk about some top causes of stress. So I think most people will agree with these. Finances and bills can cause a lot of stress.
It's by far the number one cause of stress that people complain about is money.
Mm-hmm. It's also one of the top reasons why people get divorced as well.
Yeah, I mean, the second most common one, far and away, family. Again, divorce. Big one. Sibling problems, drugs. When you're talking about family members that use drugs, it's a major stressor on everybody in that family. Mm-hmm. Watching somebody, pass away, or somebody dealing with cancer, medical, all those stuffs are some of the most common causes. And of course, work, it kind of rounds out the top three. Mm-hmm. So money, work, family, all kind of tie together, but those are 1, 2, and 3 of the most common complaints for why someone has chronic stress.
I find this interesting. So on this platform here that we got this information from, work is not as stressful in America as it is that the Canadian flag right there?
That is the Canadian flag.
Wow. So people are more stressed out at work in Canada than they are in the United States. I find that hard to believe.
Yeah, because they're always so happy.
Yeah, right? Let's see.
Maybe it's not A, maybe it's A.
I'm just going to let that there. Children. Did we mention children? We mentioned family, but children, having children, taking care of children, it is stressful. I mean, you are responsible
Why
for
let my wife do it? I'm just kidding. I did help. You can ask her. She might tell you something differently, but I at least think I helped.
Yeah. Well, one of the things like when I would leave the house when my kids were little and I had, my oldest daughter was probably 14, watch the kids at the time. And I'd say two things: give them food and nobody dies. Food and nobody dies. If I come back and those two things are accomplished, I'm happy. Like, I didn't care what else happened, but it's stressful. That's really, you're keeping a human alive.
And as a father, I usually, like, my mindset's like, in today's world, the things that make me the most scared, I'm like, don't go to prison and don't sell yourself. Like, don't cheapen yourself out where you are selling your integrity, your body for money, and don't go to prison.
These are good things to keep in mind.
Yeah. If you do these things, I'll consider my job successful.
There you go.
And I'm trying.
Yeah. Mine is don't die and eat, and yours is
I want
yourself.
that too, but don't sell yourself and don't end up in prison.
Yeah.
You can avoid those. I'll feel like I at least didn't give you daddy issues.
It's very stressful being a parent.
Don't want to give you daddy issues.
Having no time to meet commitments. This is actually something that I discussed in office today with a patient who they were extremely stressed out because they feel as though they just don't have enough time to complete everything that they want to complete. When you think about it, you're going to work and then you have to go to the store and buy food to feed yourself. There's that feed yourself thing again. And then you have hobbies that you want to have time for that are supposed to be relieving stress and happy. But then if you don't have enough time for them, then it becomes a stressful thing. And if you have like maybe remodeling or just life things, not enough time to meet commitments.
Totally. And, if you have a chronic illness or a chronic injury, that's going to, affect your day-to-day stuff and you're constantly thinking about it. It's going to increase stress. Any kind of trauma with PTSD, those kind of roll out the top 7 or 8 issues. And friends, friends bring us down. They also bring us up. When we're having trouble, a good friend will bring you up. And other times, when you're having trouble, we have friends out there that try to make their trouble seem more than your trouble. Like, they try to overtake every situation. If you're happy, they're happier. If you're sad, they're sadder. And they're kind of like that person that just brings you down no matter what it is. And there's a lot of people that have those too. And they bring stress on you. I mean, all the time you'll hear people go, yeah, I have this friend, and every time I see him, they just piss me off. And then I look at him and say, well, why do you have that friend? Well, because we're friends, or we've been friends for 30 years. I was like, but if they're bringing you down, what is the benefit?
Yeah, rethink that. This can also be an introvert extrovert thing. So if you're an introvert where you like to stay inside, stay at home, read a book, and going out into a social environment with your friends is a stressful thing for you, it's going to drain you. So that could be one of those things. Like extroverts who love to be out and about and conversating with other people, they may find this not stressful.
What about an introverted extrovert?
That's just complicated. That's another episode. We should do that sometime.
I always tell people I'm kind of like that. Like, I love being home. I don't mind being out, but if I had a choice, I'd stay home. But when I'm out, I'm great. I'm fine. At a party, I'll be in the group. I'll be, doing, all the things I'm supposed to do at a party or whatever it is. But that doesn't mean I want to be there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very complicated.
Yeah. We talked about, you talked about traumatic event, right? PTSD, traumatic event causing stress.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, life causes stress. There's good, there's bad. And, you just have to make the best of it.
But as we get further into the show too, it's about how your body handles stress. It's so important. It's not just, you can't avoid stress. You can't run from stress. That's why I'm such a advocate for not jumping right into drugs if you can avoid it. It's because then you're trying to kind of mask the response of your body when your body's talking to you. And if you can process that stress better, and there's ways you can do that, and we'll get into more detail about that, you can handle stress so much better and not have to be on a drug forever and ever.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you again for tuning in to Your Health is Wealth. We will be back in a few minutes to continue our talk on stress management.
Know the score before you vote in 2024. JD Hayworth here. Join me weekday afternoons, 3 to 5, live and local on Money Radio.
I'm Stuart Barney, and this is the Fox Business Report. Stocks finished mixed for the day and down for the week, with both the Nasdaq and S&P 500 suffering a sixth straight session of losses on escalating Middle East tensions and interest rate worries. Big tech was the biggest loser today, with the Magnificent Seven stocks seeing their worst ever weekly market cap losses, led by Nvidia. Netflix was the biggest drag on the Nasdaq, with its stock falling 9%. The streaming giant delivered a strong earnings report and smashed subscriber growth estimates in the first quarter, but disappointed some investors by saying it will stop giving updates on its subscriber numbers beginning next year. The Dow winners: American Express, United Health Group, and Amgen. The Dow decliners: Microsoft, Amazon, and Apple. The Dow rising 211 points, the Nasdaq down 319, S&P 500 down 44. It's your Fox Business Report. I'm Hillary Barsky, invested in you.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at getethos.com. That's getethos.com.
I'm Frank Miller with Your Money Now. Well, stocks finished mixed this Friday as shares of Netflix weighed on the Nasdaq. Meanwhile, the Dow posted gains thanks to American Express and JP Morgan Chase. Netflix shares slumped today after the company announced plans to stop sharing its quarterly subscriber numbers. Netflix also issued a fiscal forecast that came in below analyst expectations. Shares of American Express saw strength today after the credit card company said that its first quarter profits climbed 35% from last year. Those gains came as card member spending grew by 7%. Apple says it was forced to pull WhatsApp and Threads from its app store in China. The company said it was forced to make the moves following an order from China's internet regulator, who cited national security concerns. And oil prices stabilized today after spiking overnight. Prices climbed following reports that Israel had launched a retaliatory strike against Iran. However, concerns over the escalation of the conflict, as well as worries about supply disruptions, faded as the day went on. And that is Your Money Now.
Moments like making my kids my famous meatballs mean a lot to me. But after being diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer, or MBC, which is breast cancer that has spread to other parts of the body, they mean even more. I take Ibrance, palbociclib.
Ibrance 125 milligram tablets with an aromatase inhibitor is for adults with HR-positive, HER2-negative MBC as the first hormonal-based therapy. Ask your doctor about Ibrance and visit Ibrance.com. Ibrance may cause low white blood cell counts that may lead to serious infections. Ibrance may cause severe inflammation of the lungs. Both of these can lead to death. Tell your doctor right away if you have new or worsening symptoms, including trouble breathing, shortness of breath, cough, or chest pain. Before taking Ibrance, tell your doctor if you have fever, chills, or other signs of infection, liver or kidney problems, are or plan to become pregnant, or are breastfeeding. Common side effects include low red blood cell and low platelet counts, infections, tiredness, nausea, sore mouth, abnormalities in liver blood tests, diarrhea, hair thinning or loss, vomiting, rash, and loss of appetite.
If you can get a signal on your smartphone, then you can listen live to Money Radio. Download our app for free and never miss a moment of the great advice.
Do you have multiple years of unfiled taxes or owe more than $8,000? The tax attorneys at Allies Tax Relief are your ally and will stop the IRS from garnishing your wages or them levying your bank account. Call 800-230-5174.
So what did the doctor say?
He said I might need surgery.
Wow, it's that serious.
Well, we won't know for sure until I talk with a surgeon, but I'm lost. This is all new to me.
The decision to have surgery isn't easy, but neither is living with pain.
There is an alternative to surgery. At the Naturopathic Physicians Group in Scottsdale, our doctors are experts in full spectrum care using a natural approach and can restore pain-free joint function so you can avoid surgery. Patients come in for a variety of issues, including joint pain, chronic conditions, and issues specific to men's and women's health. We also help restore balance in immune, digestive, and hormone systems, which often improves both immediate physical symptoms and also improves cognition and emotional stability. So when traditional medicine suggests you need surgery, how about taking another approach? Call Naturopathic Physicians Group at 480-451-6161. That's 480-451-6161. Or go to naturopathicgroup.com.
Tired of that same old spin on Washington? You want the truth? Then listen to All Right Now with me, JD Hayworth, every weekday 3 to 5 p.m. right here on Money Radio. I'll give it to you straight. I've represented you in Washington, and I've lived to tell some tales. You can get involved. Call in, text our show, and you know you'll get it right. It's All Right Now, every weekday 3 to 5 right here on Money Radio.
Don't let a cold, sinus infection, or allergies ruin your day. Breathe easier, sleep better, and feel healthier with Navage. Visit Navage.com, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, or a store near you.
Welcome back to our weekly show, Your Health is Wealth, on Money Radio, 1510 AM, 105.3 FM. Our show, Your Health is Wealth, is here to help you take charge of your health and get your life back on track. We are talking about stress management today.
Dr. Ryder here with your tip of the week. I want to talk to you about cortisol. I feel like there is a need to clear up some cortisol confusion because I get a lot of questions surrounding cortisol from patients. What is it? So cortisol is a stress hormone that's produced by your two adrenal glands. You have two triangular shaped adrenal glands that sit on top of your kidneys. When you're stressed, increased cortisol is released into your bloodstream. Cortisol is like the Goldilocks porridge. You don't want too much and you don't want too little. You need just the right amount of cortisol. Producing too much or too little can cause health problems, right?
That whole book's about stress. So she's kind of like stressed out the whole damn time. And so are the bears when they come back home.
No, it's true.
I'd be pissed if somebody was in my bed
and broke my chair.
Yeah.
And ate my porridge.
She's such an asshole.
Anyway, too much cortisol can equal weight gain, particularly in the torso section. It can also give you high blood pressure, anxiety, depression, and irritability. Now, this is what happens initially when you're acutely stressed. Like this is typically an overworked individual. These are moms. Moms have hard jobs. These are people in intense, high-ranking or highly volatile job positions, like managing a tremendous amount of responsibility, like high finances.
Just say mom.
Mom.
Mom is good enough.
Yeah. That's too much cortisol right at the beginning. Now, too little cortisol, you're going to feel fatigue, dizziness, muscle weakness, mood swings, and difficulty sleeping through the night. This occurs as a result of the cortisol being too high for too long. The adrenal glands just simply can't catch up. They can't keep up. Med school.
We all needed adrenal support during that time.
Oh, terrible. These are the people who can fall asleep standing up or sitting at a red light.
Vampires.
Which has happened to me. Vampires, I don't know. But ER workers, single parents, and underweight individuals can suffer from too little cortisol.
And there's so many people out there where they switch their rhythms around because they work the night shift and they're working like 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. They try to go home and go to bed. It's not an easy transition. And then 2 years later, they get switched to a different role and they try to go back and sleep at night and their body can't do it. I kind of the way I tell people to look at cortisol when you say too little or too much, like having too little again makes it hard for your body to function. You're tired all the time, and any type of stress in front of you is difficult to manage. Even little things become big things. And so many people are probably listening right now going, oh yeah, that's me. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then when you have too much, it's like being a dog let out of a crate. So we've all seen it where the dogs are running around bouncing like crazy, where they look almost like they have a mental problem. They're literally jumping on chairs, couches, uncontrollably wired running. Well, that's them burning off their excess stress and their cortisol.
The zoomies. When they get the zoomies.
Yeah, the zoomies. I didn't know there was a word for that.
I know.
But now that you say it makes sense.
Yeah.
But basically, you let them out. They've been sitting around doing nothing all day, and all of a sudden they get this tick in their brain that just makes them run around like crazy chickens with their head cut off. Mm-hmm. So that's basically them burning off their excess cortisol, their stress they have not been able to handle during the day.
Yeah. And hormones should be evaluated when considering a cortisol issue. There's something called the cortisol steal. Your body cannot survive without cortisol. That's why it's like the Goldilocks portion. You can't have too much or too little. You can't survive without any. You need just the right amount. So cortisol will steal from your other hormones to produce cortisol instead of hormones like estrogen, progesterone, testosterone.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the pathway of the adrenal gland, progesterone is the precursor to cortisol, but it's also the precursor to estrogen. So oftentimes when someone goes into menopause and they start going low in progesterone, they're also going to go low in estrogen and they're going to go low in cortisol. But if somebody's high stress, if they give that person progesterone, it doesn't always mean it goes to cortisol to handle the stress, or sometimes it only goes to cortisol and now makes them feel wired versus the estrogen side that they needed as well. So it's really about testing correctly and balancing that aspect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, cortisol it's really the hormone that kicks in with the epinephrine, norepinephrine when you're running from a bear, right? That's the extreme example. So let's talk about why
you're in a bear mood today.
Goldilocks and the Three Bears.
Running from a bear. It's actually a good way to look at cortisol too. Like cortisol, fight or flight versus that. Like if you have not enough cortisol and the bear attacks you, you're getting eaten. It's that simple. You're not going to run. You're going to look at the bear and be like,
I'm dead.
I'm screwed. Doesn't matter. And you're going to get eaten. If you have too much cortisol, you're probably going to want to fight the bear. You're going to get up and be like, all right, I got you. Let's throw a few rounds, and you're going to get eaten.
Yeah. Either
way. But
way,
when you have the right amount of cortisol, you're going to look at the bear and say, oh shit, and run. The normal, responsible way to do that if you see a bear.
Or eat their porridge. So
what is porridge?
I actually looked that up one time. It's kind of like a mix between like tapioca pudding and oatmeal.
See, I would have just thought it was like oatmeal, but I honestly never thought about it.
It could be.
I've never walked in a grocery store and seen a thing that says, here's your porridge.
I don't know. We'll Google it.
It sounds terrible.
Yeah.
Let's pour and age.
Porridge.
It's awful.
Why do we have negative effects from stress? So we talked about the adrenal glands, right? Those triangular shaped glands that sit on top of the kidneys. They give us those epinephrine, norepinephrine, cortisol, adrenaline hormones that we run from a bear. That's the extreme example. But what are real life examples of when we use cortisol? You talked about commuting and traffic, right?
No, big time.
That's stressful.
Just getting dressed in the morning if you're running late.
Mm-hmm.
You're running late. You're like, oh my God, I gotta go. And then you end up leaving something because you were rushing out the door.
Mm-hmm. An impossible boss.
An impossible boss. Yeah. You got one of those. No, I mean, in general, any type of activity can be a stressful problem if you allow it to be, or you're already stressed out. But again, on a normal day-to-day process, if you're handling stress and you have enough of that stress hormone to help you, you're not going to have the effects. But if you're already in the environment, already stressed out, then again, everything becomes a stress.
Now, those adrenal glands, they're designed to help us occasionally in things like that, in things like traffic, in things like work. But we cannot become dependent on them. And that's how our lifestyle has changed. We have become dependent on our adrenal glands, and this leads to adrenal fatigue.
Yeah. Apparently, I got flipped off a few days ago when I picked up my son from school.
You didn't know?
Well, they have a car line that kind of loops around the corner.
Parent pickup line is awful.
Yeah, but the lady who flipped me off,
you got flipped off in the parent pickup line.
I got picked up, but the thing is I was at a stop sign. She was around the corner. The car in front of her was moving. She got out of her car and started walking to her trunk. So I decided, I'm like, well, she got out of her car and she's walking to her trunk. So I just pulled up in front because she wasn't even in her car. And then supposedly she got in her car, drove behind me, and
she's the one that was mad.
And she was mad, and then she flipped me off. I didn't know about that until I found out her son must be in my son's class.
You should give her a card, have her listen to this podcast because she sounds like she's a little stressed out.
Yeah. She must be a Karen, but if she listens to it, I'll do it. So truthfully, in all honesty, if the same situation happens again and she's not in her car, I'm going to do it again.
I would. I mean,
it's that simple.
Because then you're going to start getting honked at from behind, and that's stressful too.
But why would I pull up behind somebody not even in their car?
You wouldn't.
So, but apparently the son talked to my son in class and said that mommy flipped me off.
Oh my gosh. How mature
but guess what?
and responsible.
I hope she's listening. In all honesty, because I do it again. If you don't want me to pull in front of you, stay in your damn car. It's that simple.
Parent pickup lines are stressful. This is part of parenting.
Hey, I'm not stressed about it at all. I'll do it again.
That's good. Well, that's good.
I hope it ruined her day. Not really. I hope she learns that, if you stay in your car, nobody will pull in front of you.
I
Simple
mean,
fact.
that's common sense.
Lizzie's going to text me and say, she's going to hear this somewhere. And I'm like, you know what? I don't care. I'm not going to stress out about it.
Good. I'm glad, because then it would raise your cortisol, which, how do we test that? We test it through a blood test.
Yep. Or urine or saliva.
Oh, yes. There's many ways.
But the best way to do it for cortisol is a 24-hour urine collection, because cortisol is supposed to be higher during the day and then lower at night, because it's high during the day to wake you up, get you going. And then at night, it's supposed to be lower, calms your system down so you can lay down and go to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And then as you're waking up in the morning, it spikes again to the morning so you can have high and then kind of cascade out through the next day. And that's the normal curve. And when somebody is high stress all day long, a lot of times they're too much cortisol all day, or the ones that are fatigued and low all day long, they tend to be low all day long. So you can actually do testing where you test right when you get up, lunchtime, dinner time, bedtime, and you can develop that curve and see where your problem is with cortisol. And if you see where that problem is, you can treat it at the right time of the day and start to heal that adrenal gland.
Now, that's typically how naturopathic doctors test cortisol. Now, if you're going to a conventional doctor,
they're going to run one marker and tell you we know everything.
They will test a cortisol, and depending on what time of day you get your blood drawn, it will just be that one mark.
Or they won't test cortisol at all and
That's
just tell
more
you,
likely.
Go see a psychiatrist. And then they'll guess and put you on a drug.
Well,
it's the way of the world.
It is.
Live on YouTube. Rock and roll.
Stay tuned after this quick break when we come back and discuss stress management.
So what did the doctor say?
He said I might need surgery.
Wow, it's that serious.
Well, we won't know for sure until I talk with a surgeon, but I'm lost. This is all new to me.
The decision to have surgery isn't easy, but neither is living with pain.
There is an alternative to surgery. At the Naturopathic Physicians Group in Scottsdale, our doctors are experts in full spectrum care using a natural approach and can restore pain-free joint function so you can avoid surgery. Patients come in for a variety of issues, including joint pain, chronic conditions, and issues specific to men's and women's health. We also help restore balance in immune, digestive, and hormone systems, which often improves both immediate physical symptoms and also improves cognition and emotional stability. So when traditional medicine suggests you need surgery, how about taking another approach? Call Naturopathic Physicians Group at 480-451-6161. That's 480-451-6161. Or go to naturopathicgroup.com.
This is Ference, host of the Your Personal Bank Show. Whether you love banks or hate them, I think we can agree they're savvy about money. Banks typically borrow from the Federal Reserve 7 to 9 times their customer deposits, then loan those funds to earn interest. Banks typically average 30 to 40% gross income annually on consumer deposits. You can safely leverage bank money in a similar manner. We have banks that will fund ongoing annual premiums into your high cash value policy that is principal guaranteed. The cash in your policy is an asset and can be used as collateral. Your average rate of return can grow to strong double digits annually within a few years. This can be done income tax-free with guarantees and no downside market risk. Contact me at yourpersonalbank.com or 866-268-4422, 866-268-4422 to learn how to earn double-digit returns, income tax-free with guarantees and no downside market risk. Or tune in to the Your Personal Bank Show Tuesdays at noon.
Welcome back to Your Health is Wealth. I'm Dr. Lorena Ryder alongside my co-host, Dr. Stephen Katz. We're here today and every Friday to discuss a different topic on health and natural ways to treat it. Today, we're talking about stress management.
So other testing that conventional medicine likes to do is no testing. They like to just send you and refer you out to either a psychiatrist or a psychologist, and then they're going to tell you to go get evaluated, and then they're going to, prescribe or give you journaling, other techniques to try and handle the stress. But that tends to be the biggest things that the conventional world does is when it comes to testing, even when they run regular blood work, they're usually missing very important items, such as your hormones, because even estrogen and progesterone and testosterone can cause the same symptoms, such as vitamin D levels. Low vitamin D is linked to anxiety and stress. So again, there's a lot that you can test for, but oftentimes missed the most is that neurotransmitter test. Let's see what the brain looks like.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about some traditional treatments. So what do conventional doctors do for
Drugs.
somebody who has stress? Yeah. You go in, you're like, I'm stressed out. I can't keep my eyes open. I feel sad and bummed out. I can't get off the couch. They're going to give you medication. Some of those biggest medications, the anti-anxiety medications, Xanax. I'm sure everybody's heard about, I need a Xanax. I can't handle this.
I need it for sleep. I need it to get through the day. I mean, these are known as benzodiazepine.
Mm-hmm.
This class of drugs are highly controlled drugs, highly addicting drugs, and they basically are calming drugs. Benzos are the short name for it. They're GABA drugs, and GABA is known as an inhibitory neurotransmitter. So they shut down the natural production of serotonin and dopamine. And since dopamine also leads to adrenaline, it calms down the natural adrenaline spikes in the body. So your system just feels more relaxed, more calm.
I was just talking to a patient this morning about progesterone. She ran out of her progesterone cream and she said, I need this. It's like my Xanax. So it's so funny that we were talking about the hormones. They really do.
But progesterone makes cortisol, so it makes total sense when they need that. But these drugs are highly addicting. Used to be handed out like candy. They're less like candy now. Now it's more like
candy.
But in general, though, highly addicting, very hard to get off of. Some of these are harder to get off than even painkillers. Like this is a nasty drug. And but again, they're commonly used for anxiety. And for some people, they'll swear by it. This is a game changer. This is, life changing for them. And again, for some people, that might be what they need. And again, when we talk about drugs and supplements, we're never telling you again to stop or start anything. We're just giving you information that's out there, and then you can talk with your practitioner, if it's the right way for you to handle your health care. Other things they use for these, for patients dealing with stress is antidepressants. Also very hard to get off of if you've been on them for a very long time. They use stuff like Lexapro. The old school one is Prozac. Oh God, how many times I've heard people say, oh, I loved my Prozac. Again, these are serotonin drugs, and serotonin is a calming neurotransmitter. So it will induce that relaxing feeling in your system. But if you use it for a period of time and you try to get off of it, again, very hard to come off of, because if you give the body the serotonin through the drug, it's going to stop making it naturally on your own. So then when you try to get off of it, your body doesn't have any of that serotonin. And so you start getting all the symptoms of low serotonin, which is anxiety, wired, that same type of feeling of just stressed out and can't relax your system. You can get heart palpitations, headaches, etc.
Yeah, there's also the SNRI anxiety medications that doctors prescribe. And this is like Cymbalta, Pristiq. They're kind of like the third line. The benzos and the SSRIs are more common.
Yeah, these ones affect the norepinephrine as well as the serotonin side. So they're working on two different parts of the pathway. But again, same exact aspect is when you take drugs like this, if you're trying to get off of them, the body doesn't know how to make those neurotransmitters again. So if you look at the withdrawal symptoms, just assume, what is this drug doing? Well, it's treating my anxiety. So if you get off of them, you're going to get anxiety. It's not like the anxiety just disappeared. It's just using the drug was to mask the body's ability to handle whatever it's doing.
And there's side effects to these drugs.
Oh, huge side effects.
Yeah, dizziness, drowsiness, confusion. You can even have balance issues. I mean, I have sometimes some balance issues just without any drugs. I can't imagine having more balance issues.
Yeah, I mean, insomnia, again, especially while you're on the drug, or when you try to get off of it, it can affect sleep significantly. It can definitely cause ED for men or sexual dysfunction, even in women. in a sense too. Like it's a little different. It's more with the women, it's more like they just don't want to. For the man, they can't.
Big difference.
There's a big difference there. And then if the man can't, then it's sexual frustration for the woman, or they start blaming themselves, and now you just cause stress for them.
Yeah.
Back around that full circle.
Yeah. And headaches, I mean, headaches are caused by a lot of things, but if you have a patient coming in, they're like, I have headaches, and you've done everything you can possibly do, maybe ask them if they're on an antidepressant, because that can cause it.
A big time. So on the other side, what's naturopathic testing? So we've talked about some of these already, like, hormone testing. But again, when conventional doctors run hormones, they almost always ignore most of the hormones. Like for a female, they're like, okay, we'll run your progesterone, we'll run your estrogen. They have no idea that they should probably run testosterone with it, because estrogen and testosterone communicate with each other. And there are plenty of women out there that produce too much testosterone. And there's plenty of men out there where their testosterone converts into estrogen. It's all connected. And if there's anything we try to teach on the show, your whole body's connected to everything. And we try to put those puzzle pieces together, in our office for our patients. Mm-hmm. But hormone testing, but a complete hormone check, testing all of your hormones, the byproducts of those hormones, is not simply done through blood.
Yeah, you have to use urine to test the metabolites of the hormones. So your hormones, there are pathways. They go places. Like you said, testosterone can get converted into estrogen, and that's bad if you are a man. But you can test the metabolites. You can make sure that you're not getting, you're not metabolizing into an inflammatory type of estrogen. The only way to find that out is through a specialty urine test. It's very important. We talked earlier about checking that cortisol through saliva. Another good hormone to check with this is melatonin, because that matters how much sleep you're getting. If you're low in melatonin and you're not getting sleep, you're going to be stressed out the next day. You're going to feel it.
Yeah. Food testing. I know we say it every week, and I apologize if you're getting bored of hearing about it, but in all honesty, it connects so much of our body. When you're talking about food allergy testing, 80% of our body's serotonin and dopamine. So again, your happy, pleasure, feel-good neurotransmitter, norepinephrine and epinephrine, which is adrenaline and energy, and serotonin and is your calmer. Melatonin regulates sleep. 80% of those are made in your digestive tract. So if you're eating like crap, you're not going to be able to balance the brain. And I have so many people that have said, oh, do you know that my brain kind of feels worse when my gut's not feeling good? Yeah, there's a huge brain to gut connection.
Mm-hmm. And we've said it before, but we'll say it again. Naturopathic doctors do comprehensive blood panels. We will check nutrient deficiencies. We will also check thyroid function.
Full thyroid function.
Full thyroid function, plus including antibodies, because thyroid, they're hormones as well, and hormones work as a family. So, you should really check all of the female, male, and thyroid hormones as well.
And heavy metals, we've talked about heavy metals before. If you're high in aluminum or mercury, it affects your neurological pathways and affects your hormones. So you won't be able to balance all of that stuff. So stress management is a very complex topic. There's no way we're going to be able to do that in one episode. So we tried to make sure that we spoke slowly today so you can understand everything. And the next week, we're going to get into all the treatments for it. So thanks again for tuning into Your Health is Wealth. We'll be back with part 2 next week.
Thanks for listening to Your Health is Wealth. Be sure to tune in next week to learn more wisdom on how to live a fuller, richer life. If you have questions